Inflation is a term we hear often in economic discussions. It simply means that the general level of prices for goods and services is rising. When prices go up, the purchasing power of our money goes down. Each dollar, each pound, each euro buys a little bit less than it did before. This isn't just an abstract economic concept, it is a daily reality that affects household budgets and financial decisions for families everywhere. The steady climb in the cost of living can strain resources. It forces individuals to make difficult choices about what they can and cannot afford, impacting their overall quality of life significantly. However, the impact of inflation is not a monolithic experience. It does not touch all households in the same way or with the same intensity. While everyone feels the pinch of rising prices to some degree, lower-income households often bear a disproportionately heavier burden. Their financial resilience is typically much lower. They have fewer buffers to absorb the escalating costs of essential goods and services. This essay will explore the varied impacts of inflation on low-income versus high-income households. We will examine recent data that quantifies these differences and discuss how inflation can exacerbate existing economic inequalities. Recent economic data shows inflation's unequal impact. Lower-income households face higher inflation rates than higher-income ones. From 2005 to 2024, prices for the lowest income quintile rose by 64%. For the highest income quintile, prices increased by 57%. Essential goods for low-income families rose 10% faster. During the pandemic, the poorest saw prices climb by 22.5%. This was 8.3% faster than the average consumer price index. Spending patterns drive these inflation differences. Food prices, a large share of low-income budgets, stayed high. Later, soaring housing costs became a primary driver. Economist Xavier Jaravel notes this could push 2.3 million more Americans below the poverty line. Inflation can deepen poverty and hardship. The spending patterns of low-income families are fundamentally different from those of wealthier households. A significantly larger portion of their limited income is allocated to essential goods and services. These include groceries, rent or mortgage payments, utilities, and transportation to work. When the prices of these basic necessities rise, these families are hit hardest. They are frequently already purchasing the most affordable brands or foregoing non-essential items, leaving them with minimal options to cut back further without sacrificing core needs. In contrast, higher-income households spend a notably smaller percentage of their overall income on these same necessities. This disparity in financial flexibility translates directly into vastly different psychological impacts. Data from the U.S. Census Bureau's Household Pulse Survey in September 2022 revealed that 64% of low-income respondents found the price increases very stressful. This figure stands in stark contrast to only 17% of the richest households who reported the same level of stress. Widening the chasm: inflation and economic inequality. Inflation causes financial strain and widens long-term economic inequality. Lower-income households face higher inflation rates, widening the gap between rich and poor. Economist Xavier Jaravel found the income inequality gap grew by 16% from 2002 to 2019. Factoring in different inflation rates, this gap expanded by almost 23%. Wealthier households are better insulated from inflation. Assets like real estate and stocks often appreciate during inflation. This preserves and can increase their wealth. The poor see their resources shrink, while the rich strengthen their financial positions. This dynamic concentrates wealth at the top, making the economic ladder harder to climb. Inflation exploits and amplifies existing vulnerabilities, worsening inequality. Policy levers. Cushioning the blow for vulnerable households. Government support programs play an indispensable role in mitigating some of the harshest impacts of inflation on low-income households. Social safety net programs such as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, Medicaid, and various forms of housing assistance can provide a crucial buffer. These programs help families afford essential goods and services when prices rise. For example, SNAP benefits, which help families purchase food, are typically adjusted for inflation, though sometimes with a lag. During the COVID-19 pandemic, temporary expansions of programs like the child tax credit led to a record low in child poverty in the United States in 2021. The supplemental poverty measure fell to 8.7%. However, the subsequent expiration of these enhanced benefits contributed to the largest one-year increase in child poverty on record in 2022, with the supplemental poverty measure rising to 13.3%. Despite their importance, existing safety nets have limitations and may not always be sufficient to fully counteract the effects of high or persistent inflation. Therefore, there is a continuous and pressing need to evaluate the adequacy and responsiveness of these programs to ensure they effectively protect vulnerable populations from the full force of inflationary pressures.